Because one of the things I would say to you, Angelique, is Amazon ads a good way to spend money right now? Is like I understand that Facebook ads are still working for a lot of authors, but in general, we're seeing a shift out there, and this is why I follow people like Jane Friedman and stuff because ads are not apparently where the readers right now are starting to look for books.
Hi, everyone. I am here today with Lilith Darville, who was one of the instructors when I went to the writing retreat in Collingwood. And it was such a wonderful experience. And I'm thrilled to have one of the three instructors here. It was Kelly Armstrong, Christine Dabo, and Lilith Darville. And I learned so much. And now I get a chance to pick your brain right here on the podcast.
You do. I'm so happy to be here. Thanks a lot, Angelique, for having me.
Okay, so Lilith, what should we talk about today? There's so many things that I think would be fun for my listeners, but I think maybe we should talk about how you found success as a spicy author.
Well, I suppose that depends on what your definition of success is, but I think just continuous hard work and passion for writing has been, and learning my craft and just continuing to write, and learn. I don't think I have any big secrets or anything like that to do. It's just, it's a lot of hard work, button chair, as we say, and head down learning and practicing our craft.
So, when you read, do you read strictly spicy to help with craft then, or do you choose another genre?
Well, if I was learning craft, I wouldn't be reading fiction. I would read things like books on story structure, like Katie Weiland's book on, or yeah, series and on story structure. There's all kinds of craft books out there on writing, screenwriting books. I often read a lot of those because, I mean, all story has the same kind of structure to it, right? There has to be a beginning, a middle, and an end, and our pinch points and our turning points. So I read a lot of those things for craft and put them into practice. For market information, I'd be following a lot of people like Jane Friedman and
Yes.
people who I respect who know a lot about the genre fiction market, and then there's people that I follow that know a lot about the romance market. And I subscribe to things like K-Lytics and do analysis there. So for fiction reading, for I read every day. I can't, if I don't have my reading fix, I just can't survive. We'll say that. So I do a lot of romance reading because I love romance. That's one of the reasons that I write it. But I also read things like I'm a big fan of Kelly's work. So
Thrillers and
I'm reading her, yes, and I love things like Lee Child's Reacher series and so on. So I'd say, I don't know that I'd say my reading style is eclectic, but I think I read a broad range of things. I probably read more fiction than I do nonfiction for pleasure reading. Because to me, nonfiction, I read a lot of self-help books as well because I'm heavily into, and I use in my writing things like IFS and Brene Brown's shame theory. So I do a lot of that reading as well. That's a
oh,
long babbling answer for you trying to find out if I read spicy romance. Yes.
the answer is yes, but not exclusively. Okay. And then I want something you touched on that actually I need a lot of help with is you're talking about how you read about K-lytics. And I know the one thing with being an indie author is you have to master advertising and marketing. And it seems so overwhelming. So if you would look at somebody like myself who's about to launch a book, my space opera on it's going to be on Kickstarter next month, and then I'm going to try and just put it on Amazon. And I mean, I'm thinking maybe I'll go KU first and then go wide. But how do I advertise the dang thing? Help!
So, do you remember the checklist that I gave you for starting for the things that you'd start out of the gate that you would need to promote yourself as an author?
Give me a reminder. That was such a fire hose of information that I
Okay,
can't.
so I gave a checklist, I think, of 10 things that you would want to put in place in order to while you're working on getting 5 to 10 books out there, there was at least 5 things that were critical for you to be working on. One is a website, and the big one being your newsletter. And we talked about things like book funnel, etc. So techniques and ways in order to build your readers while you're working on getting content out there so that you have something for the readers to read through. Because if you only have one book, then you have really nothing to market. Because once they've read that one book, if you don't have something else for them to buy while they're a warm buy or a hot buy, then you've basically just lost that sale.
It makes so much sense. It's so
Because
difficult. Like, but so would you advise then holding back? Like, I was originally going to launch Roxy Vega as 2 novellas and have one fee to the next, but I don't think there's much market for novellas. Like, I
it
even watched,
depends. There is market for novellas, but generally speaking, I think the readers look for more of a fast release with novellas. So a lot of the people I know that do novellas like do one a month, but they're doing 20,000 words. So
right.
20,000 spicier short story words that they're putting out there one a month. They might do a series. I know an author that did a series, I think it was sci-fi romance, and she had 12 people. I think it's Elise Anders had 12 people going, women that ended up in a spaceship or something going off and ending up stranded on a planet with aliens. And so each one, there was 12 books. So one a month for a year she did. And each book was a short story about that woman connecting with that alien
Oh,
on this
interesting.
space thing that they did, right? So she just did those short 20 to 30,000 words, one a month. I think she did okay with them. I didn't really follow it because that's not generally what I do.
Right.
Um, but yes, I think there is a market for that, but it also takes a lot of energy. I think one of the things that I'd recommend is definitely having a plan. And so in your plan, how many novels do you plan in a series, for example?
Right.
And if you were releasing a series of 4 books, let's say, in your series, you're just talking about 1 or 2 right now. Do you envision that being a series?
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, well, she's my serial fiction experiment, right? So Roxy Vega is the one that I have been releasing 1,000 words approximately every Wednesday. And I've been doing it for a while, and she has got a bit of a buildup. And people have been asking, when can I get the book? When can I get the whole everything together? And I'm like, okay, let's do this. And I was going to do the 2 novellas, but it just seems to me that people would rather put their money towards a novel. But then, of course, I don't have anything to follow up with, right? I don't have like I was going to release one and then the next, and then at least one could feed to the next, but I don't really have that right now. I guess the only thing I can lead back to is the Substack, which of course is its own growth engine, right?
Well, I mean, you could put what, so you have somewhat of a readership you're saying that's following there that's asking for it. I mean, there's another number of options that you could take with that. You could decide that you're going to continue serializing it, and when you get a chunk of so many words, you're going to actually then you put that together as a book and release it as a book for those people. And then you're continuing on with the serial. And when you're ready with the next chunk, that's going to be book 2, you then put that together and release it as book 2. I'm not sure that there's as big a market from Kickstarter for novellas. And I would probably have a lot of questions if I was your coach in why you're choosing to do that when you're doing a serial novel, etc. But I mean, it's an interesting concept, and there again, I'm assuming that you've done your research and have seen that there's a lot of novellas that are releasing and doing well on Kickstarter. In that case, I would say, yeah, one of the things I do is I find the people that are successful and then I study what they do. So if
Right.
I haven't seen them, but if you found the people that are releasing novellas and that are doing that on Kickstarter, then pick 2 or 3 that are successful. Successful to me would be like well over probably $20,000 and more in their
Okay. So good.
campaign.
And no, I haven't done that. I haven't done that part. The reason why I'm doing is because I'm going to Author Nation and there's a Kickstart together. And I just ran another one that was, I mean,
So you
$1,000.
joined a group?
Yeah, Author Nation, right? That's where all I mean, that would be a great place for you to go. It's in Las Vegas this November, and it's where a lot of the best minds in the indie author sphere and some traditionally published ones get together. It used to be 20 books to 20K. It
Hmm. Hmm.
used to be that one, and then it was bought by Joe Solari, and now he's running it. And I'm excited. I'm going to go this November because I've met so many interesting people in the sphere, and they're all going to be there, and I can meet them in people instead of just like I'm seeing you. This is backwards. This is backwards, Lilith. Usually, I've met you in person first, and now you're on the podcast. It usually goes the other way around.
Okay, okay. Um, yeah, I don't like there's so many good conferences out there, Angelique, that
That's
again,
true.
for
Yeah.
me, I have to strategically pick what works for me. Um, and I'd probably be more inclined to, they're all great, so I'm not saying, and I have definitely done when it was 20 books to 50K and, am on that Facebook group, etc. Um, but for me and where I'm at in my career and so on, I'm more inclined to do something like an advanced Becca conference,
Right.
um,
Right.
where we're talking about, wellness and our strengths and how that makes us unique in as an author, um, you know, dealing with our strengths and the stresses of the writing world today. Um, that's the kind of thing is the thing that's probably best suited to where I'm at with my career right now.
Right, because you've
Um,
already mastered creating the audience and getting a lot of work out there. I mean, I'd say you're an accomplished author, and your goals would be very different than somebody like myself who was starting in well, as I was telling you, I'm going from short stories and I'm trying to go a little longer. I feel like I did short stories. I'm still going to do them, but I now want to conquer something bigger that might, I know we don't write for money, but come on, we write for money.
well, we
So I
do.
want
Genre authors actually, I'm going to disagree with you there. Genre authors definitely write for money.
right, exactly.
Literary folks are the ones that would say that they don't write for money, probably, and that like we still have passion for the craft and want to do it. And writing is something that's in our blood, but also in our blood as genre fiction authors is the desire to make money.
Well, exactly.
And one of the things
Exactly.
I love about the romance world, and in particular when Romance Writers of America was alive and doing well. I love the fact that romance authors are it's probably one of the biggest business-oriented genres. And we're welcoming in sharing that information. So it's one of the reasons that Kelly and I like to do the retreats, right? Because it gives us an opportunity to give back, and to share some of that information that we call, and we both love teaching as well. So um, that
It
gives
was
us that
wonderful.
opportunity. Yeah.
And any of my author friends out there, if you get a chance to go to a Lilith Kelly retreat, it was life changing. It was so great. I'm going to have to, my books need to make me lots of money so I can come to many more of your retreats.
Well, then I'm going to say you need a plan and then to pick a lane and stick to that plan. I think there's so many, then that's the kind of thing that Becca would help. Becca helped me see where my strengths were, how to focus, and to pick the things that work the best for me as a writer, not someone else as a writer. Because let's take the concept of writing a lot of words. Everybody wants to write faster, they want to put out more words. But Becca is instrumental in helping us understand that not all of us can generate like 3,000 words in an hour. It depends on how our brains work, what our process is. There's a lot of factors that come to it, but we tend to compare ourselves to somebody else who might be nothing like us at all in personality and skill, in aptitude, and yet we're expecting to behave and operate and produce like that person does. So the same thing even for marketing, like a lot of our conferences will help us see that you can be picking all these shiny things that are out there, and there's tons of people. Everybody right now seems to be putting themselves out there as a marketing coach as well as being an author. In the genre fiction, I'm sticking to genre fiction when I'm talking about this. But I mean, it's getting to be kind of annoying on TikTok that as soon as you turn it on, I'm an author who is also giving, promo tips to indie authors.
Yeah.
And if you want to be a famous indie author and make success on TikTok, this is what you need to do. And it's never that easy and that simple. Well, I'll say rarely. Okay, there's the occasional person that probably hits the lottery. And we did talk about timing, talent, and luck
Yes,
at
that
the
was a big
conference a
part.
lot about that. But for the most part, it's figuring out what works for you and what works for the market in your genre or subgenre as well. And so out of the gate, so joining with somebody else's Kickstarter is no problem. I have joined, and that's one of the things you do is you learned. I joined a few anthologies because it sounds like it's a great way to market, and I'm in here with other people, and this will probably help move the needle a lot. It didn't. But but it was an experience, right? And you get the experience of, in the case one the ones that I'm at, you have a bunch of people that don't turn in their manuscripts on time and all kinds of things like that. So you learn a lot about what it's like to do an indie project with other authors and to learn whether or not that's probably going to be something that works well for you as an individual. Um, but anyway, there's just so many things out there I think you need to pick. Donald Moss sat me down. This was early in my romance career, and I was going to a lot of conferences then. And I think this was a Romance Writers of America conference, but that out of our branch in Toronto, because there was a very robust branch in Toronto. There still is, Toronto Romance Writers. It's just now not a part of Romance Writers of America. But Donald Moss was speaking there, and it was an all-day Saturday conference, and I went there, and he ended up having lunch with me. And I'm all like gaga about marketing and everything like that. And he said to me, how many books do you have published? And it was one. And it's like, you shouldn't even be talking to me about marketing until you have 5 books out there. You go and you work on getting your newsletter. So build on your newsletter because that's real estate that you own and you can be getting readers as that goes. But that was the one thing that he's like, you focus on that and getting words out. Because if you don't have a backlist to sell through, then you really don't have anything to sell. And his opinion was, he said, I really should tell you 10 books, but I'll go with 5 before you even think about doing other things for marketing. And it was probably one of the best pieces of advice that I got because it made me focus on getting those 5 books out so that I had backlist content and so that I did have something for readers to go because romance readers are voracious. And if they had their way, they would push us to put out a book a week because lots of them read 4 to 5 books a week. I've never figured out when people get where they find that kind of time, but they do. And there's all kinds of differences that we had, but and I'm highly motivated as well by having sat with readers at readers conferences. So I probably would go more to readers conferences now than I would to craft conferences. And I shouldn't say more, but readers is where I find out what they want and what's motivating them. And it has a lot to do with what fuels me. Because when I sit down and hear that, it's this is somebody who struggled with mental health issues until they read my book. And
Oh,
reading my book helped them, find a therapist. And as well, they were agoraphobic. And this actually has happened to me at conferences. And so now hearing that I was here and they came out and they came with friends and they're now reading romance, those folks tend to read voraciously. So as well as I write, part of it is because I'm a thrive. I call myself a thriver, childhood abuse. I like to very much show that through love, and that we can do that in genre writing, through love and therapy, etc., we can find a way to having wholehearted living and loving. So that's sort of a long way to go. Big important information was, I mean, know why I'm writing and then make sure that I get at least 5 books out there, then start to look at marketing. So I guess I would ask what your plan is, and that's something, and I did ask what your plan is going forward and how you got to that. And then I go and then work that plan. So serial noveling, I think that's great. And this is a really exciting thing that you're doing. And like if that's working for you, I would continue to do that. And then yes, when you've got your chunk of words that you decide, put your book out there and get it up. And before you know it, Angelique, you're going to have 5 books up there.
Right. You just have to keep rolling, keep rolling, 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 and not
Keep
stressing
rolling,
so
rolling,
much.
rolling,
Should
and
it
then
be two? Should it be one? Should it be two? Should it be one? Which is where I am. I just have to just put it out, right? Whatever's the strongest, I guess, is the best way to do it.
well, yes, if you haven't figured that all out yet, but the serial is working for you, then I would keep working that until you figure out how that's going. Because at some point, you're going to click with, okay, I have these 3 books now, and now I know I could do this with it.
Right.
Right? And you might repackage that. Like that's one of the glorious things about being an indie author, right? You might first put them out as 3 and then go, oh no, I would like to. I did this once. I did one series as 8. So it was an experiment that I was challenged to by another author to do rapid release of one a month, which I will never do again in my life. Um, but so I decided to do that, to do an eight book series. And then I would just do, I think I was doing it every 6 weeks or something like that. And I ended up repackaging that as 3 books,
Oh, right. Well, that's great. Right?
right? Because I could take that later and go, this makes no sense to have this up here. That this is a series of novellas, but it makes more sense for me and where I'm at to repackage this and to do it as a trilogy and then move on.
That is good. So what project are you working on now that has you the most excited? Like, what are you working on now that we should be looking for?
I'm working on the first book of a series that's called Fallen for Fame, and this first book is called Brad Stone. So all of my readers know I have a major obsession with Brad Pitt,
Yes,
and
yes. Brad Stone in the book.
Brad Stone in the book, Brad Stone in the book, and so I came up with this crazy idea. This has been gelling since actually before my husband died, and when we stopped crying and decided that he put on a thing on TV and said, "You're going to need to write," so a thing on TV was Meet Joe Black.
Right,
He
right,
picked a
right, right.
show that I would like. He's
Yeah.
going, you're going to need to write, and so we're just going to let that intellection thing that you have, that this is one of my strengths that Becca helped me understand, and we're going to put this on and just see how the ideas come. And that actually helped birth the 4 book series that I put out called the Sexy Sins Afterlife Retreat, which I wrote in ICU.
Oh, wow.
Bob was in ICU and I was sitting beside him in ICU, but I was in there 12 hours a day because his surgeon had asked me to be there to make sure that no harm came to him, basically, because people don't always follow instructions. So I was there and I knew. So I just took my computer in. I had my backpack, I took my computer in, and for 12 hours a day I sat there and I wrote that series. So that was sort of triggered from Meet Joe Black and ended up that Tate, the woman in there, and I'm an intuitive writer a lot. So she started out in a coma and was snatched by Hera. It started off that she was being snatched by the Angel of Death, which, like Meet Joe Black, he was the Angel of Death. But that changed fairly quickly to it being Queen Hera. That because I have this tribunal that's in this world that I've created called Bardo, um, which is a takeoff of the Buddhism concept of the of Bardo being the realm between lives. And there was nothing else out there except for Lincoln's that book of like letters, Lincoln's letters to his sons that even mentioned Bardo when I did research on it. And so I thought this is a great thing I could build a world in. Um, so, and I had only written contemporary before this.
Oh,
So
wow.
this was brand new, but Becca had challenged me to challenge myself and to do this. I needed this project, etc. So it ended up that Queen Hera snatched her, and it ended up that the 4 guys, and it ends up that reverse harem, because I can't just do one exciting new thing at once. So I decided I'll write PNR, and it'll be reverse harem.
Oh, of
So
course. There you go.
and I'll create a brand new world while I'm at it. So yeah, I did it, and so this book was gelling at the same time as that, and the movie Ghost is part of what was gelling with it, and so this Brad Stone book is actually about Brad Stone and I'm actually writing this one. This is a bit of experiment for me, and so I'm doing the voice of the character whose name is Saren, but it's my voice in this one. So, and I know that sounds weird because aren't they all my voice? But yes, but they're my voice as some other character. I'm writing this as my voice is my voice. in this
Oh, that's going
character.
to be interesting to read. Some of your secrets might come out.
Some of my secrets might come out. So, she finds a note from her husband in their toy chest telling her to go to this place and have this date with a doppelganger because it's a place, a club where you can have dates with doppelgangers, and she'll have a date with Brad Stone, his doppelganger. And so, anyway, Brad Stone's doppelganger ends up to be Brad Stone. And so, Brad Stone is the hero, but there is the first part of the book. Um, Hubble, the husband's ghost, possesses Brad Stone. From that, he sees and becomes obsessed with the kind of love that they had together, and he wants to have it. So, and Hubble's only there for the first couple of chapters in the book, and then he's gone, and Brad Stone ends up kidnapping her. And so
Are you
there's quite a debate happening about whether or not I should have a kidnapping and a romance, but I'm like, there is
you
a
just do it. You just do it.
well, plus that on Reddit, readers, when I told you that I will hang out where readers are, readers are asking for there to be, like, dark romance has gone too light. And
Okay.
so some of the things they're asking for is let's get back to something like this where there is kidnappings and captive and so on. And that's part of what the subgenre is. So, yeah, we'll see where this project takes me because, as I said, I'm an intuitive writer. So I'm telling you all this right now, and it could completely change.
So you have this on Substack, right? Aren't you? Are you doing little excerpts on Substack? I'll make sure I put that in the notes so people can join
Yeah,
your
it's as
Substack for
I,
more.
well, this is from your idea that I learned from you. So I learn from other people all the time because you were like, I'm serializing this. Remember, we sat down at the retreat. And
Yep,
so I'm like, I should try this. So I am
absolutely.
trying this. And so I'm doing a chapter at a time on there. And then, and I've said that once I'm finished it, I'll be tearing it down because I will be publishing it in KU.
Right, which is the way
Um,
to do it. It makes sense.
yeah. So, yeah, I'm doing it. It's fun. Hopefully, I'll get some. I mean, particularly interested in reader comments, etc., as I go, because I'm interested in seeing if this is a good way to get some feedback back as well as make some money.
Right. Well, yeah, we'll have to see. But is there anything else you want to hit on in our little conversation here today?
I don't know what you're our podcaster. You tell me what you'd like to talk about.
Well, I think that's pretty close. I guess it's interesting. And I'm glad you set me back. You brought me back on track because I do start thinking, oh my God, I have to learn about Amazon ads, meta ads. But you're right. If I don't have enough books out yet, like that, I don't need to go down that path yet. You just kind of got to get them out and wait till you have the backlist. That's probably the single most important takeaway from this for all of us. Because I know as I'm going to call us like newbie authors, even though I'm not a newbie writer, I am like a newbie author, is that you can go down so many different rabbit holes of, right? Learn
You
how to do
can.
Amazon ads, learn how to do this, learn how to do that. And then you're right. If you don't even have a library out, what's like, you shouldn't be focusing on that.
Well, and the other thing I'd say is really do research and find people that have had some degree of success and figure out what they're doing. And a lot in particular in romance, but in genre fiction writing, there's either groups or there's people who are usually willing to share advice. Because one of the things I would say to you, Angelique, is Amazon ads a good way to spend money right now? Is like I understand that Facebook ads are still working for a lot of authors, but in general, we're seeing a shift out there, and this is why I follow people like Jane Friedman and stuff because ads are not apparently where the readers right now are starting to look for books. So I'm finding this quite fascinating. I've been following articles and reading about this, and I think I published one in our retreat group as well because readers are using AI to find books.
Right.
So authors
Right.
that are spending $30,000, $40,000 on Amazon ads when people aren't looking for them there. Same thing. This I read an article on Substack yesterday about a woman that spent, and I think it was 40,000 bucks, indie author, to she invested it in her first book, but and sold three books. It's not really funny. But
I read that same study
right?
back. You're just
And
like
you're reading the
heartbroken.
whole thing and thinking, why on earth would you have done this with, like, they pay for those influencers without finding out whether influencers actually influence anything, right? Because that's what I said. There's all the shiny new businesses out there, and it feels like every author, because it is hard and you have to just diligently work nose down in order to make money in this business. It's a job like anything else. Most things don't. You can make good money, but most things don't come easy without head down and getting the product out there and continuously, fueling that funnel. And
Exactly.
but also being savvy about where you're spending the money. So this is hugely fascinating to me. Now I still am running Facebook ads, but I pulled back with the Facebook ads a lot because I've noticed that there's a change there with that. So when I took a dive to going, why is this starting to change now, and start seeing all of these articles on the fact that because readers aren't getting their information there now, and it makes sense to me. I get that there's a whole bunch of people out there that are screaming about AI so that we can't even think of it. But in the meantime, readers are not screaming about AI and they're using it. And we're seeing that happening more and more. And if you could go somewhere and put in, I would like to find a book that's dark romance that has kidnapping in it and has shifters in it. And you could get a list of exactly the books that you want to read. Why wouldn't you use that as a search engine,
Well, you would. And you
right?
want to make sure that Lilith Darville's name is there or Angelique Fawns' name is
So
there,
So
right?
then the next thing that I found out for that is, okay, if they're doing that, since I don't use AI, what do I need to do in order to be found by those readers? And to find out that what I needed to do, because I don't think it was, I don't remember whose article I read, but I read somebody's article on this shift happening at Sutner and saying what you need to do is reenact. If you haven't got one, start a blog, or if you have
Oh,
one that most of us did that we had, 10 years ago, and then blogging sort of things come and go, trends change. So the blog has sort of sat there in stasis for 5 or 8 years or so, and so it was bring back the blog. So one of the things that's on my list right now is publishing an article a week on there, fueling it with the keywords that needs to, putting in the kind of information that I source that they're saying that readers want to do, like what's the entry book for your series, what's, which series is about what, and that kind of thing. So you'll see that I've got now a series of articles happening on my blog about my books and what's in my books. So that's where I'm putting more of my energy now, instead of doing a lot of research now on whether or not Amazon ads are really working, when I've basically seen that they're not working as best they could right now.
I see your blog right in front of me now. I pulled it up on another screen. Why
Okay.
Heal feels like my superhero. Why Mark My Angels is my pandemonium fallen gateway book. When a warrior angel goes vigilante. Very cool. Very good. Look at you. You're on top of everything.
I'm not on top of, thank you for that, but I am not, seriously not on top of everything.
Well, it just seems
But
to be.
I mean, I love writing, and I do love the marketing world. I mean, I did a lot of that between teaching, when I did project teaching, doing things like special projects with offenders that are just out of prison. So those were highly burnout type of teaching jobs. So I'd usually burn out from them in about 3 to 5 years, and then I'd switch and go back into business and industry and do something to make sure that my skills were, I was keeping on top of my skills there. And so I usually, well, I always worked in communication, but had some sort of attachment to marketing and promotion. So I also did tech writing, but I didn't like that, so moved back into marketing and promotion. So it means that I learned a lot about marketing and promotion on the big and small business levels that I can
Right.
then apply to this. And then I meet people like Donald Moss, et cetera, and pick their brain. I'm very fortunate to know Kelly,
Yes.
and
Yes.
to be able to like shut up and listen. And just because when you hear, so have the availability of somebody like that, you just listen and then go, I mean, not everything that she does applies to my world, because she doesn't write, with the exception of a couple of books, she doesn't write romance. But in general, when she's talking about the industry or the business and so on, I just listen because that's where you're going to pick up tidbits that lead you to go, oh, I need to be looking into this.
Well, this has been so enjoyable. So thank you
Yes, it
so much.
has
And
been.
and tell everybody where they can find you.
Well, thank you so much for that, and we'll just keep on being each other's fans. I am eagerly following what you're doing, and I
Hope you
do
got
want
find
to
some
see
focus.
how this ends up. So, did if you have is your Kickstarter already out?
It's the it's I've just got the sign up to be notified when it launches. I'm probably going to run it in August. And everybody, you can find Lilith at lilithdarville.com, and her blog with her cool little articles are there. And just be warned, I've read some of Lilith's work and it made me blush. So
That's what it's supposed to do.